Any needs is basically in a place of bliss. That's the baby state of mind. So, but as we evolve, we've discovered we have different needs as far as food goes, shelter, uh, basic needs that we're not whole unto ourselves uh, when we're children. And so we generally look. These are our general needs, basic needs such as Maslow called them food, sex, and shelter. Call them the three S's: sushi, sex, and shelter. So those are the basic needs. That's classic Maslow's hierarchy of needs, pretty well accepted needs uh, conception. There are higher level needs. These are things like importance, the need to achieve, the need to be recognized, connection, love, just connection with other people. That's one of the basic human needs that everybody strives to to fulfill. Another is growth. We need to learn. We like to learn. We like to expand our horizons. There's another basic needs. Another one is contribution. I don't want to get too deep into this, but let's just say that we have needs, and these needs exist on a basic level and on a more advanced level, and we generally look to the world to get those needs met. And so this is us, this is the world, and this is us getting our needs met through the world. And there's a problem. The problem is basically that the world is full of people that have our needs in mind and have our interests in mind and don't have our needs in mind, or they're mixed bags, and most everybody's a mixed bag. So, but also this has to deal with companies, this has to deal with relationships. So you have to you're faced with this dilemma of a world not having your needs exclusively in mind. And so you're looking for the challenges to maintain consistency. So in an inconsistent world that doesn't have your needs in mind and best interest in mind, how do you maintain your consistency? And this is the challenge. And in order to deal with this challenge, uh, how we interact with the world and what we let in from the world is how do we protect ourselves, how do we maintain consistency and also progress. And most people just intuitively learn that they need a wall, a protective wall of some kind, but we could call it a boundary, and a flexible boundary is the most ideal. And this is right from personal boundary psychology. So uh, you can get too hard or too soft, but the flexible one that lets in the good and blocks the bad, but also eliminates the bad in yourself. And I'll get into the good and bad later, what that actually means. But this is the function of the boundary. So let's explore this in a little bit more detail. It's a little bit obvious, but I want to kind of drive it home. Let's see. So this is the boundary function. So we see that this is a lose-lose deal being rejected. That could be a company that just wants to use you for cheap labor. We could say that's a girlfriend that's not a sustainable relationship, and you judge that. So that's eliminated. And maybe that negative deal, that's somebody who wants to buy your car for half of its value, so you reject that because that's a losing deal for you. But this boundary also accepts positive things. So you accept win-win deals. If it's a relationship that you're looking for, that there's a mutual benefit, then you accept those and say that positive represents a company that you want to work for, that allows you to achieve and is well paying and looks out for your best interests. And you know uh, that's any other kind of win-win deal. Maybe that's PlayStation or some kind of product that you buy that's good value, that's going to add value to your life, and is not going to break your budget, so you accept that deal. But it also eliminates the negative. So maybe that's some kind of fear in your past that you're focused on that you eliminated, so you're not projecting out to the world. Let's say that was a bad habit as far as eating junk food. And any of these can be just bad habits in yourself you're looking to just kind of eliminate and reduce in your own, so you don't put that out into the world. And so these are the two elements of the healthy boundary function. It includes an accepting element, and that's why we get a flexible boundary. Accepting element, a rejecting element, and also like a self-monitoring, self-maintenance element. So we can go beyond that. Okay. So this is a value system, and I took this from the Boy Scouts. This is the internal boundary system, and it's a value system. So this is how you judge what to pull out of yourself and eliminate in your own self. This is how you judge what to pull in from the world. And so, this is basically the yes-no function that I talked about earlier. So taking that basic Boy Scouts and that just an example of the value system, we could say that you have a yes element and a no element. So you're accepting, you're looking for brave elements to come into yourself, but also for your own behavior. So this works both ways. But you also want to reject cowardly behavior, or just say no to it. It doesn't have to be a strong negative rejection, but or in yourself. So those are the two negative, the positive and the negative elements that represent a healthy boundary. So here are the basic movements. So that's the negative, blocking bad deals, lose-lose deals, whatever's against your value system. You're looking to look within yourself and process negative values that you want to produce in your own self. And also you want to welcome in good values that are consistent with your value system. And those are the functions of the boundary, the basic dynamics. So let's look at one example. Say that you have a challenge of buying a motorcycle. So you say no. On the one level, you want to reject it because it's not thrifty, but you want to accept it because it's brave. You could say. Maybe that's a bad example, but let's explore how this works. So so you have three choices. One's a used bike, one's a new bike for 20K, and one's at 30K. You reject the first one because it goes up against your excessive value. So you want a healthy boundary looks to reject unhealthy values, and this is a value that is excessive. And the same with the new bike that's $30,000. Now, let's say for your budget, $5,000 is not excessive, so it makes it through your first boundary. And is this something you really want? You can consider it to be brave, because you're facing your fear maybe. But it's also, you can consider it also be thrifty because maybe you're saving gas money at that. Maybe you did the math on it and you're saving gas with that used bike that you found on Craigslist. So it goes through that whole processing system and you accept the deal, you buy the bike. And that's just a basic function of yes no. Let's look into something a little bit more complex and complicated, but I mean even in and of itself is a little bit simplistic. But let's explore the boundary relationship when making relationship decisions. So we have three elements here. Let's say Kesha, you're dating Kesha right now, and these two women come on to you. One is Natalie Portman and one is Jenna Jameson. So let's say you get to know Natalie a little bit. She's not consistent with anything that's against your value system. Maybe she has all your positive boundaries that you're looking for, and so she makes it through and you accept it. Now, let's say that Jen Davidson, you get to know her and you consider her behavior trashy. We should say it's lose, lose, win. Like maybe she's just looking to use you for some reason. There's no real connection there. So you make that decision. You don't enter into a relationship before you enter into that relationship. You reject it. And you're already in a relationship with Kesha, but maybe she starts sleeping around on you. Maybe she starts getting heavily addicted to drugs. Don't really have a problem with Kesha, but let's assume that was the case. And so that is a situation where you were in a relationship. She was already within your boundary, and she moved out of it. So that's the basic elements of healthy boundary functioning. And what I'm going to go into later on is how this goes wrong, how environmental circumstances can cause disorders, and also how this specifically applies to sex offender treatment and things. So stay tuned for more, and I'll go into that a little bit later. Thanks.